We're excited about the ski season as we've already had some snow up in the mountains. Oh yeah, it wasn't much, but it was predicted, and it's only mid-October. Come on. But we are looking at a little more snow coming up over the weekend and middle of next week. The good news about that is, it's a pattern that's not stagnant and dry. It's moving right along with some moisture, and we expect the moisture to pick up in October. And it is. One good thing, though, we're getting some low snow levels with the moisture, and that's great to see early in the season. So we're going to look over the snow. We're excited about the season. The Mariners are doing great, so let's move ahead here. The winter seasonal forecast, this is going to be a La Nina winter. It was kind of hovering on the edge of neutral and La Nina, but it's just turned to La Nina. So it's sort of a weak La Nina, similar to what we had last year as well. So we expect with La Nina near to above normal snowfall for the Pacific Northwest. That isn't the case all over the world, and we'll see some of the other forecasts around the globe and around the West in a second. So I would expect skiing to open up near Thanksgiving. So be optimistic about that. Already we're seeing a progressive pattern. And so sometimes it's a little bit before Thanksgiving, sometimes a little bit after, but that's a good target date. And with the combination of some snowmaking and natural snow, I think we're going to be good. A really good pattern right now. And as we talked to Andy from Lake Tahoe, there's been snow in Lake Tahoe and rain down in Southern California. You can see this is the current situation with the radar actually taken this morning, and the satellite picture shows that storm to the south of us. And typically this often happens. We get clear and cool weather, and California gets moisture. It kind of just breaks that way. A lot of what you see over the mountains of Washington there, I'll show you in a second, is snow, not clouds. So the current status on the ski slopes, we did have a little snow in the last couple of days. It's been cooler than normal for mid-October. The mid and upper slopes from about 4,500 to 7,000 already have a trace to maybe up to 6 inches in some of the gullies and the north-facing things, north-facing slopes, upper slopes, I should say. The lower slopes pretty much have melted out or didn't really get much snow at all, so 0 to an inch. So it's a little start. Typically in October, you generally lose it. It'll evaporate away, or it'll melt, or rain will happen on top of it. So October's not too much to get excited about, but it was nice to see the snow up in the mountains, that's for sure. And more is coming for the weekend, so I like the pattern. Here's a couple of shots. Look at Mission Ridge, got a pretty good shot of snow. You can see that looking, I think, toward the north there. Today, also looking at White Pass, they got a good shot of snow too. You're looking northward toward Mount Rainier from White Pass. They got a decent amount of snow. Today at Crystal, that's Chair 6. A lot of snow there, but a little thin right on the ridge, as it always is, even middle of the season. 49 degrees north in the inland northwest. They've got a decent amount of snow. That's at the top. And Whistler Roundhouse, many of you recognize that picture. You can see a few inches there. And looking from Blackcomb towards Seventh Heaven, from Blackcomb, Seventh Heaven, looking toward Whistler, you can see a little bit of snow. Not enough to ski on, but it certainly covers it up nicely, and it's looking fairly stylish. All right, the bigger picture on the left here is an interesting map which shows the snow depth over much of the West right now. And this is mainly from the storm that just occurred. You can see some that occurred down in Lake Tahoe in the last 24 hours up through Oregon Cascades. It gets a little deeper as you get up through parts of British Columbia and, of course, the Washington Cascades, and also parts of Alberta and the Rockies here. You can see some snow over toward Bogus Basin or Sun Valley. And a good shot here over toward Targhee and Jackson Hole. Over to the right here, I like this picture. It was clear all over the Northwest today. There were some clouds up through BC, but all this white area here, that's all snow on top of the mountains. Rainier is right there. You can see it really pop out. But this is the snow through the Cascades and through the coastal range of British Columbia from that storm that we had. And you can see the snow in through parts of BC and also the Canadian Rockies right in through here. So that's pretty impressive too. So you can see it you can tell this clouds versus snow if you're ever looking. Clouds are a little different color. You can see the snow, a little darker shade of white. Also the pattern, you know where the mountains are, right? The Cascades, the coastal range, and then the inland areas. And also you can see this pattern. The valleys are snow free, but the peaks and the ridges have snow on them. So that's what creates this, what we call a dendritic pattern. And so you can really pops out where the snow is. All right, moving onward. We're going to have a look at the next slide, if it will come along. Come on, please. No, it's not coming. All right, there we go. So the short range forecast, I want to go through this. Wednesday through Thursday, it's going to be mostly sunny, chilly. The top will be open for the Mariners, so go Mariners. Boy, they're ripping. This is fun. And Friday and Saturday, there'll be a few more clouds. We'll call it partly sunny, still on the chilly side. And then Sunday, this is up in the mountains. There'll be 1 to 4 inches of new snow, about a 4,000 to 5,000 foot snow level. And next Wednesday, roughly a week from now, there'll be more snow. Not a lot, but again, I love this pattern that these storms just keep on coming, and they're cool storms too. So we're going to talk a little bit about La Nina because it's sort of in the background this winter. It's a weak La Nina, and it still means that we're going to be cooler than normal and a fair amount of snow, at least near normal or above. But remember, La Nina doesn't necessarily rule every storm. It only creates these favorable conditions for storminess. We can still get a warm storm. We can still get a dry spell. These storms generally come from the north and northwest, and they're cooler. That's a cool direction. And so we've had that already. So it's actually going on. All right. So here's a couple of examples on La Nina. A couple of years like 2017, 18, 2019, 20. You can see there's the ranges from, near normal to above normal. This was a big year, 19 through 20. And this is just in the Northwest, not the rest of the country or rest of the West. Last year was about the same La Nina as 2024-25. And so it was an odd year. Look at to the right here. This was last season. Now, much of Washington was a little bit below normal. But you get down to Oregon, it was well above normal. And the inland Northwest, Silver Mountain, and through parts of southern Idaho into Grand Targhee and Jackson, they were above normal too. You get down to California, it was a little closer to normal. But Oregon really hit this jackpot. And some of the storms just started to hit Oregon in one part of the season. That's what jacked them up to above normal. And if you really want to dial it down, Baker and let's see, Stevens were kind of below normal. And you get down to Crystal and White, they were sort of at or above normal. So even Washington State had kind of this split personality. So you never know with these La Ninas. They can create these different patterns, and we don't know. And here's the pattern on the left. It creates a jet stream up to the north and one to the south. It's this cool and wet pattern. But this isn't every storm. It shifts a little bit all the time. It does generally create dry patterns in through the southwest. But a couple of years ago, there was a strong La Nina, and California, this is 22-23 season, California had well above normal, one of their snowiest record-breaking snowfalls. And so it does do some strange things sometimes. And so take everything with a grain of salt here. Here's how the season normally goes. I just picked out Crystal as an example. The blue line is what normally happens during the season, and all these gray lines are different seasons. This 22 season I'm looking at right at the bottom, start off at 2022, really bad, one of the worst, even hung in there. And then it powered in through parts of Christmas. Last year kind of started a little bit below normal, but by the time December came along, December 1st, right there, it was above normal. And then it really stayed above normal. This is at Crystal for much of the season, then sort of dropped off at the end. But so remember this, the lesson here is, the season, 1 month doesn't know what the next month's going to do. So it can turn around pretty quick, and just watch the powder alerts, and we'll keep you guided to the best snow. But when it starts to happen, you got to move. Okay, here's some of the world impacts, because I get a lot of questions about this. What about Europe? What about Japan and that sort of thing? So Japan tends to be a little bit on the cooler side. Their best month for skiing is January, And so I would be fairly optimistic there. Again, to the northwest, it's sort of cool and wet. Wet meaning wetness down the low elevation, snow in the higher elevation. And sort of the south is sort of dry, the southwest and southern tier. And so you can see a lot of areas in the world, they have no La Nina or El Nino connection. It's just mainly down here in the tropics and a little bit here on the west coast of North America. That's what gets impacted. And again, not every La Nina is the same, not every El Nino. They're all a little bit different. Here's one thing we're seeing. We've had a really warm oceans all over the world, but especially in the North Pacific. It's been one of the warmest on record. And this is a huge area of warmth, warmer than normal. The anomalies mean how it's changed from normal. SST means surface sea temperature. And what it's been going on, it's slowly been cooling off though. So there is kind of this blob effect. Remember 11 years ago, we had the blob and everybody worried about it, but they did a study at the University of Washington and they found out the blob really had little or no influence on the weather. And they did this clever way to figure that out. What they did is they knew what happened after the winter and they modeled it. And then what they did was they changed the temperature in the model, they changed the temperature of the ocean in the model to reflect a blob and then to reflect no blob and see what the difference was. And they found that there was a little warming along the coast, but really no major patterns in the storm track change. So it definitely will warm the atmosphere up a little bit, and it will also inject a little bit more moisture. But again, this whole blob has been cooling off tremendously in the last 4 weeks. So the trend is cooler for the North Pacific. Now we've already got the cooler than normal in the equatorial Pacific right here. And this is what distinguishes what a La Nina or El Nino. If it's cooler than normal, it's called a La Nina. And already you can see that blue, it's cooler than normal. So we've established this as being a La Nina year. So we're watching it carefully. We'll see how that blob thing evolves, but I'm not worried about it. So let's just move on. Here's the forecast, by the way. So this is in little increments of, this is September, October, November, November, December. You can see, so we gradually go from winter to spring. And La Nina's pretty strong influence here in the winter up until February, and then neutral starts to kick in, and it's pretty much neutral by the springtime. So my sense is that this will make the first part of the season a little more robust, a little more active. So gotta, get out there when it's getting good, especially in December and January, okay? But I was like in the longer days of spring anyway, but we'll have a good snowpack by then. That's why I'm optimistic. So this is how the forecast is right now. I think it's pretty much how it's going to end up. So we watch these Pacific storms is what we're looking at. A Pacific storm is a big swirl this is like a classic textbook. The low pressure is right in the middle right here. Cold air gets drawn around the backside. These are the cold air showers. The warm part has the atmospheric river embedded in it, and this creates a lot of moisture and sometimes a lot of snow. If it's even though it's warm, it might be cold enough. But for me, I like this area right here where you get these shower clouds. This produces really low snow levels and super good snow. This is the powder sweet spot, in my opinion. When that part of the storm is over your head or aimed at you, you're going to get a great day, almost guaranteed. So watch for that. They're called open cellular cumulus clouds, and they're the cold sector of these Pacific storms, and they are the ones that produce the best skiing, in my opinion. All right, here's back to La Nina, by the way. And you can see whoops, this is the wrong one. Sorry, disregard. I just realized this is the 24-25. I was looking for the 25-26. It's very similar to this, though, by the way. Sorry about that. It's very similar because it's a La Nina, so they're doing above normal precip here and below down here, and the temperature is a little bit cooler and drier down here. So sorry about that. I don't know how that creeps in there. All right, here's where our storms come from. I was just showing you one of the big storms. So first of all, they're slightly, affected by this El Nino or La Nina. It's La Nina. So that keeps the storm track kind of moving in our direction. So storms come off of Asia and they move out into the Pacific. They get an injection of cold air here. Sometimes there's tropical moisture, even an occasional typhoon. We just had one go up into Alaska that just pummeled parts of Kodiak, Alaska with heavy rain. And so this continues into the fall and early winter too. And then this area out here in the Gulf of Alaska, south of the Gulf, it's kind of the stormy area where warm, moist air meets up with cold air and it produces these storms. They come in here. There's also an injection of cold, dry air sometimes at the end here. These atmospheric rivers get connected to these storms. They inject them with heavy moisture. And so this is how the setup, this is where all our weather comes during the winter. That's why we do not want to have these big blocking high pressure areas because they block this whole mechanism from happening, this whole process. And so right now, I don't see it at all. You know, we get a little high pressure the next couple of days, which is fine, but it's temporary, right? We just want to have things to keep moving. And then we keep the powder poobah nice and smiling and happy. All right. Another thing we talk about is convergence zone, and they make for great powder days. It certainly favors Stevens Pass, but it moves and it kind of connects from about Everett, north of Seattle, up into the Central Cascades, up around Stevens Pass. Sometimes Snoqualmie Pass gets a piece of it too. But here's another thing. This whole thing can move. And sometimes actually we can see two of them too. One of them forms up at Baker, like up in here, because we get these north winds here and south winds here. And then we get these things. This will move down and hit Snoqualmie Pass, Crystal and White. So they can move. This is just kind of the average of what they do. And you can get heavy snow remember, during one of these 1 to 2 inches an hour, and occurs again after the front. So the snow level's already dropped. So that's really good news. They never have high snow levels with these convergence zones. That's another good feature of them. And they can just dump. If you've ever been up at Stevens when one of these is going on, it's just like a machine of snow is just dumping. It's 1 to 2 inches. You just can't even believe how hard it's cranking. And here's a picture of me skiing there a couple of years ago, and it was just dumping 1 to 2. In fact, there was an avalanche on the road going back home that day. It was just huge. It just dumps there. So be careful too. You can get lost in a tree well quickly. It's beautiful. All right, we're going to talk about atmospheric rivers, one of my favorite subjects. As you know, we've talked about them a lot. A lot of people go, what is this? Some media thing made up. Well, these were actually discovered and named in the 1990s by a couple of scientists from MIT. And they were modeling weather and they found this feature in the models that looked like a conveyor of water from the tropics to the mid-latitudes. And they realized how important they were to bring moisture from the lower latitudes, really the tropics, into the mid-latitudes. And so that's where the term came from. But it got popular in the early 2000s. And people started talking about it. Now they've been, people know all about them. They're probably as popular as hurricanes and tornadoes, but they're a West Coast phenomenon. We needed something, and there's a 1 to 5 scale with them. And here's the thing about them, okay? So when you hear about them, they're generally, for us, high snow levels, right? But here's a couple of reminders. Sometimes, yes, they have warm air with them, but sometimes they move in with cold air in place. So it sort of makes for this lower snow level initially. Then the warm cold air gets scoured out, snow level goes up, and then after the atmospheric river kind of goes away or moves to the south or dissipates, snow level comes back down. So after one of these happens, it can be really good skiing. Also, if it's like aimed at Crystal or Snoqualmie, north of it can be fine, like up at Baker. I've seen this happen. Baker will be north of the atmospheric river. They'll still be getting moisture. Because remember, even though the core of the moisture is in these atmospheric rivers, all over the place it's raining or snowing in this case. But the lower snow levels are going to be north of the atmospheric rivers. The higher ones are going to be south, and it's kind of medium right in the middle of the atmospheric rivers. And they move around. Sometimes they stall. Here's another good look. A lot of times they anchor or kind of tail off into Hawaii. Sometimes they come right across the Pacific. I've seen them start from way over in Asia. Sometimes they start down in this section and move up to the north like that. But again, it's cold behind them, warm, moist, and windy. They can be pretty windy. So avalanche danger can be pretty high during these. Not only that, raining on top of the snowpack creates unstable snow. So there's a myriad of reasons why atmospheric rivers are associated with big avalanches. So be extra careful. Backcountry not recommended during these things, and make sure you don't get out of bounds or jump a rope line because it can be nasty. Okay, well, the ski season. When will the ski season open? We're going to aim for Thanksgiving as we normally do. Sometimes it's a tad early. I think it'll be fine this year, given what we're seeing in La Nina. And remember, most areas start with a combination of natural snow for some of the higher slopes and some snowmaking. Whistler is one of those. Crystal, this is a picture of me skiing a couple of years ago. I mean, it was pretty good. That was chair six, and that was the first week of December. And so it can be quite good. Remember too that angle, that's at the left side of skier's right side of Campbell Basin. The snow drifts in there. So you got to know where it blows over those ridges and drifts in. The actual snow might have only been a couple feet deep in the area there, or maybe a foot or two, but it drifts in. It might be 5 feet deep already because it drifts so heavily in certain spots. So you got to pick your places and be careful. There are rocks lurking underneath. Here's another one. This is just last year. I was up at Whistler, first week of December, and Symphony was not even open, but they allow you to hike out there and get Symphony. And, we got some turns. It was kind of nice early December. And the Whistler Bowl was a little bony. Look at it, it's very, but it was skiable. People were skiing. I wasn't going to go down there. My God, it was so scrapey. It was unbelievable. But you can see in the background, there's Seventh Heaven across the valley there. And that's the lift. What is that? Peak chair. All right. And snowmaking, a couple things for snowmaking. You generally need it 27 degrees or colder for efficient snowmaking. And generally it's for the lower slopes or the really well skied areas. And so they'll start cranking these up pretty soon if it stays cold enough. And that can fill in the gaps for a lot of ski areas. I mean, the places that are going to open up early are generally, Crystal, Baker gets a lot of natural snow. Whistler has an efficient snowmaking and they get natural snow. And then places that's kind of out of town might be Hood or Bachelor. Targhee is really consistently opening early. Not as much Jackson, but Targhee is one of the most reliable. Now, anything can happen though in any given year because it's dependent on storms, and storms will take a different track, but that's just the average, those areas that I picked off there for you. Um, Remember also these seasonal forecasts aren't that great. La Nina is the exception for the Northwest. It tends to be pretty good. By the way, my sainthood application to the Pope was called a fake. I resent that, but it was probably a fake. Always look for the line less traveled. There's a line I got to the left there, that left picture, and on a big powder day, and nobody hit that line. I just took a little hike, a little stroll up there, and got it myself. And remember, when the blue crown appears, powder is near. If you ever see that crown, uh, be ready for a big snow dump, or maybe even close. Okay, so it looks like a good ski season ahead, but remember, it's not a guarantee, and we don't know how to unfold. This is probably the biggest misunderstanding people don't get. We can have a really snowy month, December, or February. It doesn't necessarily mean the next month's going to be great or the previous month's going to be great. And same for dryness. If it's a dry or mediocre month or warm one, it doesn't mean the next month's going to be the same. So that's a hard one to sort of digest because we always want to see what's ever happening is going to keep happening. These warm atmospheric river patterns, one thing, they don't last long. They're also called the Pineapple Express, by the way, of course. Pineapple Express is a specific kind of atmospheric river that generally initiates near Hawaii, but there's different types of atmospheric rivers. And by the way, they're all over the world. They're not just on the West Coast, but we have the best ones because we have the greatest ocean just to our west. Um, I think it'll be an early start. Let's go for it. Get it while it's good. And so remember, just get out there and as soon as it starts happening, do it. So the early Cascade snow has begun, and the snow season is ahead, but it's still about a month away. We're going to have another one of these probably in about a month too, and we're going to also be sending powder alerts out periodically. But we'll have another big slideshow in about a month, just before the season starts. But I want to open it up for questions. That is the end, yes. And if anybody has any questions about the season ahead or last season or anything,
Yep.
please shoot
I
away.
have, okay, right now, bottom of the list, Larry and Andrea. Thanks, Galen. Larry, where did you learn to ski?
Okay, I have an odd story. I never skied on snow, never even saw much of snow because I grew up on the beach in Southern California, Laguna Beach, California. And so I was always an outdoor person, but I went to school in Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, and they have a ski area there called the Arizona Snow Bowl. And I learned to ski there. And it's kind of a nice ski area. It's kind of fun, but that's where I learned. But also, that's where I also stretched my kind of ski legs out to southwestern Colorado, Telluride, Purgatory, and into Utah, Alta and Snowbird, and those places. So I got traveling. I like ski travel, but I've never been to Europe. I've been to over 68 places in the Western United States, though. So I've been to most, and in Canada too, Western Canada and Western US. So I've been to a lot of places, but never to Japan. I know a lot of you out there have been to Japan and Europe, but it's hard for me to fly over stuff that's so good. But anyway, that's where I started. Arizona Snow Bowl. The
Arizona
bottom of
Snowball.
Arizona Snow Bowl is set 9,000 feet. The top's 11,500. So
That's
it's
good.
it's a huffer and puffer.
Cool, thanks. Galen, I learned how to ski at Alpental, and I teach 3-year-olds how to learn how to ski at Alpental to this day, which is really awesome. So Galen also asked, what resorts stand to benefit or suffer the most from climate change?
So the climate change is a real deal. It's already, begun to warm up a little bit. There's actually, they've done studies on the snowpack, for instance, in the Cascades, and quite frankly, the snowpack hasn't changed that much. A slight decrease, but it's been pretty steady over the years. The places that are going to start hurting are going to be anything with lower elevations. So Snoqualmie, unfortunately, but a lot of the lower elevations in the Cascade ski areas, there's a lot of low elevation, right? So that's why we've had problems in years past or the last 5 or 10 years. Some, wet storms and so anything with lower elevation is going to be hurting. Also down in the Southwest, there'll be a drier pattern. You think of precipitation and warmth, but there's more evaporation too. And you'd be surprised how much snow, especially in the Southwest, actually just evaporates. It turns straight from a solid into a gas and evaporates away. It doesn't even melt. It's called sublimation. That's a process. So that can be a problem too. So yeah, it's going to be a problem, but it's slowly happening. But I think snowmaking will help a little bit because the nights will still be cold enough for the most part.
Okay, thanks. David Ross asks, he's curious, forecast for Beaver Creek, Maribel, Saasfee, and Grindelwald Wengen. That's a lot. That's kind of a variety.
That sounds like some German ones in there.
Where are you going, David? Do you want to
Uh,
speak up, David? You still here, David?
David.
Okay, well, how
Anyway,
about Beaver Creek?
Beaver Creek. So that's in Colorado. They're sort of on the edge of this dry versus heavier snow La Nina pattern. So, I don't think there's a real tendency for most of Colorado. Maybe Southern California, I'm sorry, Southern Colorado might be a little bit on the drier side, but I wouldn't worry about it. The rest of them in Germany, as I said, there's no connection with El Nino or La Nina for Germany. I think that was
Okay.
Germany, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
Um,
just thought you might have Sasfe and Grunewald-Wagen and
I have no idea where they are. I've never heard of them.
well, it's Austria, Switzerland, and Maribel's in France.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't. Although I was in Garmisch-Partenkirchen in Bavaria last summer. That's
um,
good.
okay, and then Andy wants to know about the snow that's coming down in Tahoe. Is it going to snow in Tahoe?
Oh, Andy's asking about Tahoe. Yeah, there's Tahoe proper might be a little, they're at about 6,500 feet. It'll be kind of a rain snow mix there, but some of the upper elevations there will get 1 to 2 feet, above probably about 8 or 9,000 feet. Some of the upper elevations of Heavenly. And here's another thing: the way that storm is sort of set up, they'll get this return flow that kind of favors the east slopes, like Mount Rose and parts of Heavenly and some of those areas. So they're getting this return wraparound flow, which we also got by way a piece of that. That's why that snow picture at Mission was so incredible, because they got some of what's called this backflow around the low. It's the counterclockwise flow around the low. So the east slopes of the Cascades, the east slopes of the Sierra also get sort of this extended or more vigorous snowfall. So yeah, you're going to get a nice start here.
Well, hey, Larry,
Yes,
we just got about an inch and a half out right now.
just when I was talking.
Yeah, well, not the whole time. You haven't been talking that long.
Okay.
But we started snowing around, I don't know, 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
and we got about an inch and a half already here at the house. So that's about 6,300.
Andy, what can you tell Northwest skiers about skiing Tahoe? I know you've had many years there, and we told them you put out a few fires too. But
Put out a few
I know
fires.
you've skied in Heavenly and Kirkwood a lot and a lot of other areas. What can you tell? And I know you've been up here a few times too, because I've skied with you. What can you tell Northwest skiers about skiing in Tahoe?
Well, you guys have, what do they call it? The Cascade concrete. We get the
Yeah.
Sierra cement. But there are those days when, like you said, when you get that right snowfall where everything lines up and it's just beautiful powder skiing. Here on the South Lake, we tend to favor Kirkwood. The more advanced skiers seem to like Kirkwood than Heavenly. But boy, I tell you what, the Sierra at Tahoe has changed dramatically after the big Caldor fire. The tree skiing there used to be pretty well known, and now it's wide open bowls.
Wow, really? So it's
Yeah, but it's good.
noticeably
I
better
mean,
after that fire, huh?
oh man, it's amazing. Totally changed the mountain, but it's pretty awesome.
Wow. Well, I'm not rooting for fires, but that's
No, it
good.
definitely was not a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that. I know, fire chief. I know you would say that. So, but Andy has skied all over. He skied at Bella Coola. What was that, last year or 2 years
That
ago?
was 2 years ago, and through the advice of my good forecaster in the Northwest, we rolled the dice on that one and turned out to be very good.
Bella Coola is a heli ski operation. How do I even describe where it is? A couple hundred miles north of Vancouver, or
How do
about
you
100 miles north of Vancouver Island.
how do you spell it?
Bell.
Bellaccoola. 2 words.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I've talked to a
Thank
few
you.
people up here in the Northwest that have been up there, and that's why I encourage you to go up there. And you hit it good, I know.
So, Larry, can I share a quick story with your
Sure.
listeners?
I hope. As long as I'm not involved.
Well, you are.
Oh no.
Celebrity status.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
yeah. Tell that
skiing.
story. Tell that story. That's
I
fine.
was skiing with Larry at Crystal the first time I had ever skied at Crystal. Definitely not the first time I've skied with Larry, but we got on some quad share. I don't remember which one, and we paired up with a couple other guys, and just being talkative, asking, "Hey, how's your day going?" The guy's going, "Oh my God, it's a great day. It's my birthday." And then Larry Schick, my weather guy, just forecasted the great powder day ahead. And I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. This is a setup. So I go, Larry Schick, that guy's he's worthless. He doesn't forecast at all. I started totally dissing Larry. This guy was ready to fight me on the chair. And then I said, well, actually, I'm kidding. This is Larry sitting here right next to you. And the guy was totally flabbergasted, said, prove it. Larry had to pull out his
Yeah, you didn't
pass
believe
and
it.
show him his pass. And then the guy was so excited, wanted to take a photo at the top because it was his birthday, and Larry was there. And that happened 2 more times that day, which absolutely blew my mind.
That
Celebrity
was very
skiing.
fun. That was very funny. I almost fell
Anyway,
off the lift.
Love
Well,
you, brother,
very good.
and hopefully we get some turns in this year, and we'll keep listening. But carry on.
All right. Thank you, Andy. That's great.
That's awesome. So we have a few more questions, but Andy, if you're still on, Andy, you're gonna do me a favor and you're gonna pick the winner for the $500 Woolly shopping spree. We're not done yet, but Andy, I want you to pick a number, please, between 1 and 56.
Between 1 and 56. Holy moly. How about lucky 13?
Cool. That's Tim R. I didn't write down his last name, or maybe it's not in there. Tim R. Are you still on? Tim? Okay, well, I will find Tim R. Because he's lucky 13, so thank you.
I'm here.
Yeah!
Wow.
All
Woohoo!
right.
What's your You do not have to share your last name, but because you're registered, I have your email and you have mine. So congratulations, because $500 to spend in one place is pretty awesome.
Oh, that's so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. That is amazing. I was so crossed my fingers that I might be picked, and here I am. All right. Thank you. And Larry, thank you for all your years of service to all these skier community in the Northwest.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I get a lot out of it too, and that's great. And those guys at Woolly, they're the best people. So I encourage everybody to give them a good look on their online sites. They got good stuff, man. I really like it. It's nice.
Yeah. Tim, how long have you been a subscriber?
Oh my gosh. Call it 20 years.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. That's fun to give away stuff. Okay. So Galen has a cool comment kind of question.
Okay.
Galen's dad is 78. He's going for his PSIA level 2 cert this
Wow.
year. He has several dates he can choose from for his test, often in Oregon. What time of year do you recommend for the most testing friendly conditions? Galen, if you want to pop on, you can, but Larry,
The most friendly. Well, I mean,
you never
I
know.
would. I don't know if it's down at Hood or Bachelor or whatever, but I was like kind of later in the year, when it's a little sunnier, because the problem with the early in the year, the snow can be better, definitely powdery snow, and even when it's groomed. But later in the year, you get good visibility. Sometimes the snow is really consistent. It all depends if it's been groomed or not. I don't know. I'd kind of like March or something, but not a bachelor. That sounds good to me. But Hood's good too. Mount Hood Meadows is a good little ski area. It's not so little either, it's a good area.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My dad has been instructing at Snoqualmie for the better part of, let's call it, 22 years now. And he's been going for that level 2 cert for years and years. So I'm just trying to give him any advantage I could.
That's good. As Andrea mentioned, she's an instructor there, and she's a damn good skier. I don't even like skiing with her because she's so good.
It's so much fun to ski with Larry. Where does your dad teach? Which part of the pass?
I think normally at West, but he bounces around to Central sometimes. You might know him, Carl Helmgren. He's a long time skier up there, so.
I'll have to look for him. I have a couple other instructor friends that are on the call tonight. That's cool. That is the way that a lot of us afford to ski. Let's see. Larry, what are your favorite inbound runs in the Pacific Northwest?
Oh, wow. Okay, in the Pacific Northwest, inbound runs. I like skiing top to bottom at Crystal, like off, the top of the gondola there, and then ski all the way down the ridge to what used to be called Iceberg, but now it's called Firks, and then get cut down through there all the way to the bottom. Because it's really a nice long run, and it's got some steeps. It's got not any bumps. I'm not much of a bump skier, but it's just interesting all the way down. So I like that one. Let's see. You know, Stevens, same thing, the back side, the ridge, and then back into the that back area there. Mill Valley. It's just really nice in there. I like skiing, strangely enough, I like skiing top to bottom at Whistler. I go from the top of Harmony, is it? Yeah, top of the Harmony all the way to Creekside. And I time myself, it takes 16 minutes to do that run. That's a long run. Of course you're dodging, people in the middle part of it and stuff. But it's a nice long run. 16 minutes is a long time to ski, top to bottom. It's 5,000 plus vertical. So that's very enjoyable. I also like skiing right down to the village where you just go right to the edge of the pavement there, and click out and you not walk onto the pavement. That's very nice. What else? I like just anything is, I mean, I'm sort of in between any kind of groomer or powder. I mean, I'm not much in between. Bumps or too much chopped up or if it's too heavy. I just like it really easy and easy for grooming or easy for powder.
Okay.
To me, powder skiing is not that difficult. It's generally just, really fun and easy. It's almost effortless. And same with groomers. So I guess I'm kind of a lazy skier.
That's okay. So hey Larry, I'm Carl's asking what color is your ski coat for the season?
It will be blue. It will be
Blue.
blue. I've been trying to transition. I know I had that green one for some time.
And the
Um,
orangey one.
Orangey green, yeah. And so I'm going to be in blue. I'm going to be in
Okay.
blue. Yeah.
Okay. I asked everybody to put in their favorite run.
Yeah.
Uh, Camion is excited to ride the new chair at Alpental, the new chair too, that is now not the one that my sister and I learned how to ski on.
I know Andrew and I skied up on that last year.
So much
It was
fun.
really fun, really fun. Yep.
Um, uh, uh, okay, and then there's the Christine King. The new run created by the Abbey at Crystal. We call it Little Bear Meadows. Christine, are you still on? And Larry, there was that run that you took me and Louise and our friend Mary, out under the King. We traversed on
Oh,
level.
I know what she's talking about, the Little Bear Run.
What's
That's the
Little
right
Bear?
side of that's the right side of Lucky Shot, sort of, where there was an
Oh,
avalanche over, where Bear Pits is, right? It
yes.
was kind of right along there where Bear Pits is. So it cleaned it out pretty good there. I think that's what
Carl,
she's talking about.
yeah, Evan says banana shoot. Where's banana shoot?
Banana shoots over by um you know where the bottom of Green Valley is. If you go look right behind you, there's a ridge, and Banana Shoot is on the other side of that ridge. There used to be a plastic banana hanging off a wire there. I think that's why they called it the banana is the way I've always heard it called. But I think
Cool.
the place I took you was out in
Some
the
tree
South Back.
something. I don't know. It was
Fine Forest, it's called.
fine forest.
Fine Forest
Fine
out in
forest.
the South Back, the
Super
short
fun.
South Back.
Um, so someone's talking about a new chair at White Pass. Deborah,
Is there?
what's going on at White
I
Pass?
think there is, yeah. Tell us about it.
Deborah Peterson, you're on. You're right there. Deborah.
They have redone the little chairlift at White Pass to make it from a two-person chair to a four-person chair.
Oh,
Hopefully, it serves the bird runs from the top of Pigtail Peak down to the bird runs, and then that run will also take you to the base lodge. I think they also are putting some sort of little lodge, I think, where the yurt was at the base of that chair. Um, so it'll hopefully be open more than just on the weekends for us midweek skiers. So I think they finally have all the towers in and all the chairs connected. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more versus having to go from taking the color lift and taking that long track all the way back down past the bird chairs to the base lodge.
excellent. Good. Thanks for that
Thanks.
report.
Yeah.
Way to go, White Pass. Stepping
Uh,
it up. That sounds great. I
uh,
think I think Bluewood too, which is out of Walla Walla. They were going to put in a new lift, but they had to delay it for some reason. But they're trying to make some improvements over there too.
Cool. Okay, just some, fun Exterminator. That's Evan's favorite. And
Exterminator is a great powder run.
where's that? At
Top to
Crystal?
bottom. That's at the top. It's kind of up around Green Valley, that ridge up there in back of Green Valley, all the way to the base, basically. Yeah, I mean that is probably one of the most premier runs in the Northwest. That thing powder top to bottom. That's 2,000 vertical of powder. It's unbelievable. And that in employee housing,
Yeah, someone added that to the list. Yes.
employee housing is probably one of the best runs in all of skiing. That's a crystal. I mean, that thing, it just keeps getting steeper as you're skiing in it, but it's not too steep. It's really awesome. Yeah, and that was cleared out by an avalanche. God, when was that avalanche? 15 years ago or something?
Does anyone else know?
It called it employee housing because the avalanche stopped just before it hit employee housing, and it was one that was blasted. It wasn't the one that took out that chairlift. That was a different one. The old chair 6 was taken out at Crystal by an avalanche that was set off by one of the ski patrollers who happened to be a wife of the owner.
Oops.
And but it was a big one. It was a big one. That was going to fall. But anyway, that employee housing, probably that really, you're right. That and Exterminator, those are two incredible. I mean, here's the problem. You don't get too many runs that aren't severed by some sort of cat trail that cuts it off right in the middle, right? The employee housing has no cut trail. It just keeps falling and falling and falling all the way to the end. And same with Exterminator. You just stay on that thing. Yeah. So though I agree, those are two incredible runs.
Okay, we have something that makes me curious. Zach and Laura ask, can Larry tell the story about
No.
the Phantom at Snoqualmie?
A Phantom at Snoqualmie.
Zach and Laura, what's that about? Is it Zach or Laura? Come on, it's making me curious. We have 4 minutes. Camion loves Silver Mountain, Idaho. Okay, I love 49 degrees north.
49, yeah.
Love 49. And a couple years ago, I stayed at the Mistaqua Hotel Casino. Zach and Laura says it's the Phantom 1999 Avalanche.
Was that the one that came across the parking lot and ended right
Yeah.
at
It crashed into the old maintenance lot.
It went in the maintenance lodge,
I
right,
wasn't really
right.
skiing
I
then.
couldn't remember. Yeah, and you can still see that avalanche path as you drive up there to go to the upper parking. It's up to the
Totally.
right there. One story I remember about that avalanche, and it came right across the road. Some guy was working in the maintenance shed, and he went outside because he didn't hear it, and he just smelled evergreen, like things like fresh evergreen. Well, the avalanche had sheared off so many trees, it just smelled like the evergreen smell of a tree being sheared apart by a wood chipper, right? And yeah, that was a big avalanche. Thank God that didn't happen. We're excited about the ski season as we've already had some snow up in the mountains. Oh yeah, it wasn't much, but was predicted, and it's only mid-October. Come on. But we are looking at a little more snow coming up over the weekend and middle of next week. The good news about that is, it's a pattern that's not stagnant and dry. It's moving right along with some moisture, and we expect the moisture to pick up in October. And it is. One good thing, though, we're getting some low snow levels with the moisture, and that's great to see early in the season. So we're going to look over the snow. We're excited about the season. The Mariners are doing great, so let's move ahead here. The winter seasonal forecast, this is going to be a La Nina winter. It was kind of hovering on the edge of neutral and La Nina, but it's just turned to La Nina. So it's sort of a weak La Nina, similar to what we had last year as well. So we expect with La Nina near to above normal snowfall for the Pacific Northwest. That isn't the case all over the world, and we'll see some of the other forecasts around the globe and around the West in a second. So I would expect skiing to open up near Thanksgiving. So be optimistic about that. Already we're seeing a progressive pattern. And so sometimes it's a little bit before Thanksgiving, sometimes a little bit after, but that's a good target date. And with the combination of some snowmaking and natural snow, I think we're going to be good. A really good pattern right now. And as we talked to Andy from Lake Tahoe, there's been snow in Lake Tahoe and rain down in Southern California. You can see this is the current situation with the radar actually taken this morning, and the satellite picture shows that storm to the south of us. And typically this often happens. We get clear and cool weather, and California gets moisture. It kind of just breaks that way. A lot of what you see over the mountains of Washington there, I'll show you in a second, is snow, not clouds. So the current status on the ski slopes, we did have a little snow in the last couple of days. It's been cooler than normal for mid-October. The mid and upper slopes from about 4,500 to 7,000 already have a trace to maybe up to 6 inches, and some of the gullies and the north-facing things, north-facing slopes, upper slopes, I should say. The lower slopes pretty much have melted out or didn't really get much snow at all, so 0 to an inch. So it's a little start. Typically in October, you generally lose it. It'll evaporate away, or it'll melt, or rain will happen on top of it. So October's not too much to get excited about, but it was nice to see the snow up in the mountains, that's for sure. And more is coming for the weekend, so I like the pattern. Here's a couple of shots. Look at Mission Ridge, got a pretty good shot of snow. You can see that looking, I think, toward the north there. Today, also looking at White Pass, they got a good shot of snow too. You're looking northward toward Mount Rainier from White Pass. They got a decent amount of snow. Today at Crystal, that's Chair 6, a lot of snow there.